gone so wrong? The plan was perfect in my head. That's because we don't have radical acceptance. So here's a list of some common coping strategies used by people dealing with this problem. Now, if you have your physical book with you, or you have your virtual book, whatever it may be, you get to tick them if you agree with them. If you don't have the materials with you, don't worry, just think, yes, that applies to me. Number 1, you spend a great deal of time thinking about past pains, mistakes, and problems. That's definitely a big tip for me. Secondly, you get anxious worrying about possible future pains, mistakes, and problems. And number 3, you isolate yourself from other people to avoid distressing situations. Now, personally, I've had a couple of years of suffering with agoraphobia, and that was the main thing. I thought, well, to avoid any form of distressing situation, I won't leave my house, and there you go. That's not healthy, is it? Next up, you make yourself feel numb with alcohol or drugs. You take your feelings out on other people by getting excessively angry at them or trying to control them. Now, I know that's a very common BPD thing. Next, you engage in dangerous behaviors such as cutting, hitting, picking at, or burning yourself or pulling out your own hair. You engage in unsafe sexual activities such as having sex with strangers or having frequent unprotected sex. You avoid dealing with the causes of your problems such as an abusive or dysfunctional relationship. You use food to punish or control yourself by eating too much, not eating at all, or by throwing up what you do eat. Now personally, so you guys understand, for all of my life, I've had an eating disorder. I think in the past 2 or 3 years is when I overcame that, and I still have to plan my meals a day. If I don't plan, I won't eat because my brain just hasn't made that connection that when I get hungry, I eat. I'm used to having hunger and suppressing what I feel I deserve, and we'll go into that in more detail in the notes in the Discord channel. You attempt suicide or engage in high-risk activities like reckless driving or taking dangerous amounts of alcohol and drugs. You avoid pleasant activities such as social events and exercise, maybe because you don't think that you deserve to feel better. You surrender to your pain and resign yourself to living a miserable and unfulfilling life.
Turn right.
Now that really hit me hard in the chest, because we're all doing this right now. We are living in our pain and we're living miserable. It's an unfulfilling life because we are so trapped in the past and the future. So all of these strategies are paths to even deeper emotional pain, because even the strategies that offer temporary relief will only cause you more suffering in the future. So use the cost of the self-destructive coping strategies worksheet to see how. Note the strategies that you use as well as their costs, and then include any additional costs that you can think of. Now at the end of the worksheet, feel free to add any of your own strategies that aren't included as well as their costs. So this is on page 7 and on page 8, and I'm going to quickly just read through those self-destructive coping strategies that a lot of us have, and what are the possible costs of us living how we are doing right now. What's the danger? What do we sacrifice?
Go straight on.
So if you are the person that spends a great deal of time thinking about past pain, mistakes and problems, this means that we are missing out on things that are happening right now, and then we regret the things that we've missed out on. If you are the type of person that gets anxious, worrying about possible future pain, mistakes and problems, this means we are going to be missing out on what is happening now. I do this all the time, and I know you probably do too. If you isolate yourself to avoid possible pain, which we think makes sense, but we spend more time alone, and as a result we feel even more depressed. So we're never going to have those fulfilling relationships that we really want deep down inside, because we are avoiding them at all costs. And also, it has been proven, sorry, I'm going to get so many messages because my friends are actually listening to it, so I'm really sorry if you hear any pings. I will sort that out for the next session. So you are going to be isolating yourself, and scientific studies have proven that we are social creatures. We need to engage with people. If you live a life where you hide behind this, on your computer all day or sit behind your telephone, this is so damaging. We are social creatures. As much as we hate to admit that to us BPDers, we need to engage with people on a daily basis. You use alcohol and drugs to numb yourself. This could be addiction. Now, addiction causes loss of money, work problems, legal problems,
straight on.
In the past, I have abused alcohol. I have done things in the moment and thought, if I just do this here, this will make me feel better in the time being, but it doesn't. You take painful feelings out on others. Now, we don't want to lose our relationships and our friendships around us, but indirectly, we have these feelings and we let them out. So we have loss of friendships, loss of romantic relationships and family members by people wanting to avoid us. So we feel loneliness. We do the thing that we were trying to avoid in the first place through our BPD actions. And then we feel bad about hurting other people, and there's legal consequences of your actions. Number 6, we could be engaging in dangerous behaviours right now, like cutting, pulling out hair, and self-mutilation, self-harm, whatever that resonates to you. That might make you feel good in the moment because it makes you feel slightly alive and gets those endorphins going around your body. However, it's not healthy. We know it's not healthy. This can cause possible death, infections, scarring, disfigurement, shame, physical pain. Now, from a young age, I have been self-harming, and I have scars on my legs, on my thighs because of this. Now, this is a wound that I have to bear every single day when I'm getting changed, and this is just one of those things that happens from BPD. And if you're the person that has effects on your body right now from self-mutilation, just know that it's okay. Okay, these are your scars. You are a warrior. You've made it this far and you're still alive. And no matter how you feel about your body right now, to me, you are perfect. And we're going to get through this together, okay? Okay, on the next page, you engage in unsafe sexual activity like unprotected sex or frequent sex with strangers. So we already know that this is going to be causing sexually transmitted diseases and life-threatening things like pregnancy, shame, embarrassment. Now, I know us guys, when we're in that moment when we are craving that attention from someone, we might say yes to sex with someone we don't really like just to crave something. Or it could be a case that we say yes to sex or get pushed into sex when we don't really feel like it. And that is self-damaging. You avoid dealing with the causes of your problems. A lot of us guys didn't know we had BPD until shit really hit the fan. Now, if you continue to put up with your destructive relationships, you are going to get burnt out. If you do things for other people and don't get any of your needs met, this causes depression, and we've all felt that. Number 9, you eat too much. You restrict what you eat or you throw up what you eat. Now, this causes weight gain, anorexia, bulimia, health consequences, medical treatment, embarrassment, shame, and also depression. Number 10, you have attempted suicide or engaged in other nearly fatal activities. Now, this can cause possible death, hospitalization, embarrassment, shame, depression, and long-term medical complications from those acts of attempted suicide or fatal things that we have done. Number 11, right now, us guys, we could be avoiding pleasant activities like social events and exercise. This will give us lack of enjoyment. Lack of exercise will give us depression, shame, and also isolation. I'm just going to quickly mute my computer because I'm getting some Discord chat notifications coming through. Sorry about this, guys. I'm such a professional computer. You surrender to your pain and live an unfulfilling life. Lots of pain and distress will give us regret about our life and depression. And the worst thing about BPD, which I know you guys are going to get, is when you sit down and a big monument thing happens, like a birthday, or maybe you have a memory of a certain day of the year and you think, wow, this time last year I was doing this or I didn't do that, and what have I achieved in that short space of time? When we get so overwhelmed with our emotions, we don't realise we aren't growing as a person. We aren't putting ourselves head on into life, and we really are missing out on a ton. So the costs of these self-destructive coping strategies are very clear. All of them lead to your pain being prolonged into long-term suffering. Now, I'm just going to quickly underline that myself. Feel free to do that. So all of these things that we're doing right now, guys, they might help us, but we're going to have long-term suffering. Remember, sometimes pain can't be avoided, but many times suffering can. I'm going to read that back out again. Sometimes pain, the things that we feel, they're going to hurt us and we can't avoid it, but suffering is something that we choose. So let's take, for example, an argument between friends Maria and Sandra. For Maria, who doesn't have overwhelming God, what's wrong with me? But I know you guys relate to this.
Finding
To avoid
a new
this
route.
type of long-term suffering, chapters 1 and 2 will teach us how to distress tolerance ourselves. So these skills will help us to enjoy and cope with our pain in a new, healthier way so that it doesn't lead to suffering. And the new plan outlined in these 2 chapters will teach you to distract, relax, and cope. So let's talk about this chapter. The first distress tolerance skills you'll learn in this chapter will help you distract yourself from the situations that are causing you emotional pain. Distraction skills are important because 1, they can temporarily stop you from thinking about the pain, and as a result, number 2, they give you time to find an appropriate coping response. So remember how Sandra carried her pain with her for 3 days. She couldn't stop thinking about her argument with Maria. Distraction can help you let go of the pain by helping you think about something else. Distraction also buys you time so that your emotions can settle down before you take action to deal with a distressing situation. However, do not confuse distraction with avoidance. When you avoid a distressing situation, you choose not to deal with it. But when you distract yourself from that distressing situation, you intend to deal with it in the future when your emotions have calmed down to a tolerable level. The second group of distress tolerance skills you'll learn in this chapter are self-soothing skills, which is what we're going to cover tomorrow, guys. It's often necessary to soothe yourself before you face the cause of your distress because your emotions might just be too hot. Many people with overwhelming emotions panic when faced with an argument, rejection, failure, or any painful events. Before you can address these problems with your new emotional regulational skills that we're going to reach in chapter 6 and 7, or your new interpersonal effective skills, which will be chapter 8 and 9, it's often necessary to soothe yourself to regain your strength. In situations like this, distress tolerance skills are similar to refilling the gas in your car so that you can keep going. Self-soothing is meant to bring you some amount of peace and relief from your pain so that you can figure out what you are going to do next. So self-soothing is something that our parents should teach us, but a lot of the time we didn't have that. Some of us don't have access to that type of parental skills. So self-soothing skills also gives us another purpose. They're going to help us to learn to treat ourselves with compassion. And we're not used to treating ourselves with compassion, guys. Us BPDers, we treat our favourite person with compassion. We give them everything. But what's more important than your favourite person? Yourself. Right now, you are the most important person in your world. And you need to be taking yourself out for hugs. I need you to be dating yourself because you need to love yourself, okay? This self-soothing skill is going to help us to treat ourselves from so many things. Now, many people with overwhelming emotions have been abused. We have been neglected as children, and as a result of this, we were taught more about how to hurt ourselves than to help ourselves. The second purpose of the self-soothing skills, therefore, is to teach us how to treat yourself kindly and lovingly. Now, I'm going to be forcing so much love inside this Discord channel. I'm going to be loving every single one of you, okay? That I'm going to be sending so many virtual hugs, and I know that sounds so hippie and over the top, but I love you. Whoever you are, I love you, I love you, I love you, and you need to be loving yourself. So, guys, how are we using this chapter? As you read or you listen to me, following this group of skills, you are going to be marking the ones that are helpful to you. Underline everything, draw little pictures, do what you need to do. This will make it easier to create a distraction plan for emergencies when you get to the end of this chapter, which is what we will be covering on Wednesday. Okay, lost myself, here we go. You'll also be shown how to create a list of relaxation skills to help soothe yourself, which we're going to do together on Friday, both at home and when you are away. Then in the next chapter, you learn more advanced distress tolerance skills. So chapter 1, we're going to cover radical acceptance, our distractions, self-soothing, and our relaxation plans. It's going to be amazing. So radical acceptance, we're slowly getting there. I need to stop talking so much. 21 minutes in. Okay. Radical acceptance. Increasing your ability to tolerate distress starts with a change in your attitude. You're going to need something called radical acceptance. Now, this is a new way of looking at your life. In the next chapter, we are going to go experiences using radical acceptance. But for now, it's going to be sufficient to just cover this concept briefly. Often, when a person is in pain, his or her first reaction is to get angry or upset or to blame someone for causing the pain in the first place. But unfortunately, no matter who you blame for your distress, our pain is still there and we are going to still be suffering. In fact, in some cases, the angrier you get, the worse your pain will feel. Underline that right now, guys. The angrier you get, the worse your pain feels. Keep that in mind with you until the end of the week. Getting angry or upset over a situation also stops you from seeing what is really happening. Have you ever heard the expression, being blinded by rage? This often happens to people